Today guys, on the Everyday Golfer, we are talking Callaway and we are talking the new Apex range. You'll see on screen guys that Callaway have brought out the new range of Apex. They have brought out a new MB, a new CB and a new Apex Pro. And today we're going to talk through those three clubs and see who they would be for, what they would compare to, and if they were the right clubs for you. Now first of all, we're starting with the Apex Pro. So you'll see that on screen now. It is a hollow body design club that is designed for forgiveness. Still doesn't have a huge long blade length. It is nice and compact, but it does have the thickest top edge of these three clubs, as you would expect. But for me, looking down at this club, it doesn't look overly big, it doesn't look too chunky, it doesn't look like something like your Paradigm X or your Paradigm version, and certainly not as big as your Big Bertha. Obviously, if we talk about loft-wise here, we start to think that, right, normally a hollow body, we know from previous clubs, your P770s, your P790s, your ping clubs, they're normally a little bit stronger, but you can see the lofts on screen now. We've got a 7-iron that's coming in at 33 degrees. Just to give it away before I switch over, the CB and the MB are coming in at 34 degrees for the 7-iron. So obviously having some kind of mixed set is possible with this. And I think this is what Callaway have done, so you can obviously have a little bit of a combo set with mixing and matching these clubs. Obviously what we expect from a hollow body design is that little bit of higher launch. We do expect a little bit less spin, so we will be going into the simulator soon with these. But let me give these a go into the green. Again, a nice finish on them down behind the golf ball, and this will be comparing to something like the P770 or the T200 from Titleist. That's a great shot, first shot of the day, and that is pretty close to the flag, pretty much within 10 feet. So extremely easy to hit there. Didn't launch maybe as high as I thought. So let's switch over to the CB now and see what we should see in flight difference. Do we start to see it coming out a little bit lower? Do I get more feel from it being a forged head? Let's have a look. So in with the CB now, which you will see on screen. Again, what we're expecting from this is that little bit of a sleeker top line, so it doesn't look as thick, and certainly down the golf ball, it starts to look a little bit more compact. Blade length wise looks very similar, so we've not got much difference in that, if any at all, when we look down at the golf ball. And that's one big thing here. Although I've switched to a club that may be a little bit harder to hit, it still looks reasonably easy for me to hit down at the golf ball. It doesn't look like it's gone shorter blade length, doesn't look like it's going to be too hard to hit. And again, the CB, as you'll see on screen, looks very similar to the MB. So looks wise, from a distance, again, people like a bit of bag appeal. It does look good. It looks very sleek. It looks nice down behind the golf ball. What flight will we get? Certainly a lower trajectory, launched a little bit lower. But again, the proximity of that is right next to the hole, so very interesting there. An early morning here, swinging it pretty well, but getting that launch difference straight away. You can see that visibly from those two shot tracers, but that's exactly what we're coming to expect. Both as easy to hit. That certainly felt a lot nicer off the face to me. It sounded a lot better, but that's for you to decide. And again, we're going to test it out numbers-wise in the studio. So final club up is the MB. As you can see, it is wet out here this morning, but we've got the MB, but nice and interesting here for you guys. So we can see very similar blade lengths, but we can see obviously the sole of this 7-iron on the Pro on the left is that little bit thicker, which is exactly what we would expect. Obviously loft wise, when we come into this one, again the MB, like I mentioned, is 34 degrees, so potentially if you really enjoyed MBs, if you really like the feel off that forged face and you're happy with them because the blade length's not too short, then maybe you could even combo this set with the Pros. Maybe you wouldn't have to go MB to CB, but you could also go CB to the Pros. And that's what I think Callaway have done really well here, is they've matched up the lofts. They've not gone straight away with too little loft, so they come off too fast, so you can't obviously go a combo set. Obviously price wise, with them being brand new, obviously they are a little bit more expensive than other clubs that are on the market at the moment, so it's definitely going to try them. But for me, looks wise, they look fantastic, they look just as good. Performance wise, so far so good. Let's see what the MB does compared to the CB. And again, down the golf ball, if you told me, if it was blind tested and you said to me, right, this is, which club is this? I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference between the CB and the MB, which is never a bad thing. Bit of a block there from me, but again, interesting strike there, and again pin high, so even with a miss strike it's still getting to the green. Be interesting to see inside, obviously strike wise with the numbers, are we going to lose a lot more distance with a miss hit with the MB as you would expect compared to the Pro? But down at the golf ball, all look very nice behind the ball. Yes, we have a little bit of offset on the Pro as you would expect, and then through the CB and the MB that offset gets a little bit less, but even with the Pro you can't really tell. But let's get in the studio. So just before we do go in the studio, we can see that we have the CB there next to the flag, so well inside tour average. We have the Pro pin high, and maybe 3 or 4 yards short we have the MB, but for a miss strike that's exactly what we'd expect. We've not lost too much distance, it wasn't the best swing for me, and those two are well inside tour average. But let's see what the numbers say inside. So guys, in here we're going to start with the CB. So like I mentioned outside, it is 34 degrees, so similar to the MB, but we know this is going to be a little bit more forgiving, minimal offset. Let's have a look at distance with this. See, it's launched pretty high there, launch angle 20 degrees, 7-iron here, carrying 166, going 175, so very much like what I would expect from my 7-iron. Again, spin around about or just under 6,000, exactly where we would want it. So let me hit another one, because what we're trying to see here is, obviously we know with the MBs we've got the progressive CG into the lower irons for your flight. Is it going to launch lower with that? Certainly feel like these are extremely easy to hit. Again, launch 18 degrees there, that's carried. Much better strike there, 175 going 185. So interesting there, a miss strike did lose me 10 yards, even with the forgiving CB. So would that be something that I get a little bit more forgiveness as we would expect from the Pros, from the hollow body design? And this is where you've got to think. There isn't a set handicap for this, but do you have off-centered strikes? I've just proved there, even for me, I might miss strike one. I lost 10 yards very quickly. But let's switch over now into the MB and look at that launch. On average with the CB was 19. Will it be lower? So like we mentioned outside, again, blade length and top line down at the golf ball look very similar. So obviously if you're looking for a combo set, you could potentially go the CBs in the higher, you could then come down to the MBs for your scoring irons. And this is where you need to think about what kind of flight, how do you strike your shorter irons, are you more aggressive with those? And that could be the perfect set for you. Obviously talking handicap wise, this is where obviously there is no set handicap, it all depends on obviously your consistency of strike. Good strike there, launched at 19. Interesting enough, we know it's the same, obviously, degrees of loft, and that's gone 175, gone 185. Again, wasn't a perfect strike, so interesting there, I've got that a little bit more forgiveness maybe, potentially. It's come off a little bit quicker. Again, I do use blades, and the blade length on this is very interesting because it doesn't look too short. It's not like a blueprint where it's a very short blade length. It looks very similar to the Tacoma 301 MBs that I use at the moment. Again, a good strike there. Let's see. 174 going 175. So consistency wise there, very good. That's two good strikes. Yes, if I hit an off-centered one, potentially I think I'm going to lose around about the same, but looks down at the golf ball very similar, and that's what you're trying to think. If you like the look of the MB, you're going to like the look of the CB. It could be a combo set for those irons, maybe a little bit more CB in the top end because we know the lofts match up nicely. But let's talk about the Pro. So again, like we mentioned outside, we did say that obviously we know that this does have a little bit more offset, still minimal, not too much, but it does have a little bit more offset than the CB and the MB, which is what we'd expect. Again, hollow bodied, a little bit more forgiveness, maybe a little bit more launch off that, and a little bit more ball speed, but only 1 degree difference in it, which is very interesting because obviously a lot of brands start to get very strong in these more mid-handicap range, higher handicap golf clubs. and then it's very hard for you to have a little bit of a matching set. So there, not the best strike, but again, not the best strike. Has gone 175 yards carry, gone 185, so a missed strike has gone just as good as what it did with a good strike from those two. Again, launch there, down at 18, so launching the same, and launch is obviously very much dependent on your impact factors. Yes, it's a little bit stronger, so it's pretty much exactly the same as the MB was coming out, but spin again, down at 5,000. We dropped that little bit more spin off these, which is, again, for somebody maybe who's trying to get that little bit lander softing angle into the green, this could be perfect. Again, launch pretty good, down at 17 again. Good strike, 181 yards, going 195. Nice shot as well. But spin down there at 4,000. So you can see there, I've actually gained a little bit of distance with these, which is exactly what I would expect. Feel-wise and looks, yes, they do look a little bit chunkier at the top, like we mentioned out on the golf course. Feel and sound, just the same, even inside, it still sounds the same and feels as good. But you would probably be looking for these golf clubs to be directed to somebody who's got a little bit of a slower swing speed, somebody who's trying to get that little bit more launch from the golf clubs and still get the distance that they want, into relying on landing angle. So think about it, is that something that you want to look at? Is that something that you could do a combo set with? Again, they're not too far off, so you could potentially go obviously into the pros at the top end of the bag for your 4-iron, your 5-iron, your 6-iron, where you want that more launch. Then you might go CB because you might like that lower flight with a bit more spin into the green. Very interesting concept to do. But guys, don't forget, we do have a fitting here at Waterfront, so a Callaway fitting day, which is on the 18th of October. You will see that on screen now. So if you are looking to come down to that, do give us a call here at Waterfront on that number below. But guys, that has been the new Apex range from Callaway. Very interesting. We're going to be comparing these in coming weeks to the Titleists that have just been brought out and any other clubs that you want me to test them to. Comment below, guys. Have you enjoyed this? And we'll see you again tomorrow.